Welcome back to Duckman Cycles of VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. And we're back today with my 1956 Oval Beetle, and I'm continuing to work on the chassis to it. Just in case you're a first-time viewer here and you don't know what my Beetle is, it's a 1956 Volkswagen Beetle Oval that was unfortunately horrendously storm damaged by Hurricane Ivan back in 2004. It was left outside for 10 years to rot after that, and it was pretty much destroyed. So I rebuilt the car the best I could with the parts that I had, not using too many original parts if I couldn't, so that way somebody else had something to restore an original car, but I did the best I could to put it back together. But right now what we've got is a pan, which is an IRS pan, very obviously, that's been upgraded to a 944 rear end. Yeah, that's right, this is a Porsche 944 rear end. It's got Porsche wheels on it, it's got Porsche disc brakes on it, it's actually got Porsche torsion bars in it as well. And I'm going to continue working away at this thing. I've got some things that I need to do with it. First thing that I need to do that I promised you guys in the last video was show you the up and down motion. But unfortunately, I could not get underneath there with a power tool because there just wasn't enough clearance. And what I've got is I've got a brand new impact driver, 90-degree one, which is just actually just an air ratchet, really, with an impact built into it. That should get the job done, and I should be able to show you how to go up and down. Now, that will not be the final solution as to how I'm going to actuate this. It's just going to be temporary to show you guys how this works. So anyways, we're going to continue pounding away at that. There's a few other things I need to do. I need to install the calipers on the back here and a few other little things like that. And I also need to get the anti-sway bar that you see here installed. And this is intended for an IRS Beetle. And since this is, well, kind of an IRS Beetle, although now it has a Porsche rear end on it, I gotta see what it's gonna take to make that fit. Most of the parts that were intended on here just aren't gonna fit properly anymore. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of playing with that and see what I can come up with. If not, the other solution is, and somebody told me this, that a 944 rear sway bar will also bolt directly onto what we've got here. So I should be able to switch to one of those, and I can actually get them relatively cheap online at some of the more popular auction sites. If you guys enjoy my videos, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Pluck that little dingle belly down there next to the subscribe button. That gives you updates every time I upload a new video. Check out my Facebook group page, Duckman Cycles VW Garage. There's a lot of people on there, about 300 active users that are always sharing their projects or their input on my projects. So please head on up there and join us. If you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Once again, that's duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Thanks for watching, you guys. Stay tuned. A lot of work going on this project. Well, one of the first things that we need to work on is I got to get my compressor adjusted here. I've got some high volume hose and I've got some high volume fittings, so I'm going to do a little bit of a disassembly here and set up a tap that goes into this so I can actually run some of the air tools like my impact. It always got the job done and it worked, but it seemed a little bit anemic to me. You know, it was the vegan of impact drivers. It got the job done, but it wasn't as strong as it should have been. Yeah, it hits like a vegetarian. So I'm going to disassemble this and put a tap right in here so that way I have a 90-degree coming out of it before all this nonsense, so I can do a maximum volume of air from this compressor into my air tools. So I'm probably going to put a 90, I'm thinking right about here. Try to get it so it doesn't actually line up with the valve. I don't want it to come out here somewhere, so I'll figure out how I want to do that. Maybe I'll rearrange how the valve on there is. But anyway, it should only take a few minutes. John, a friend of mine with a Porsche 914, should be coming by sometime today too, about 1 o'clock. He wants to use the sandblaster, and in order for me to set up the sandblaster for him, I actually have to get this sucker upgraded, because that's another thing that's kind of anemic. It just doesn't have the power that it should, and it turned out it wasn't just the tool to blame, it was actually the air supply. I'm all out of love. So if I can increase the volume of air, I think the thing's going to work a whole lot better. Alright, let's go ahead and start tearing some shit apart and see what happens. So this is something that gets me here. Half-inch hose that I upgraded to from the 3/8 that I used to have has this much bigger fitting on it. So none of the fittings that you need to put on there will, of course, screw into it. It's stupid that they make the damn thing so big. But now this, the inside of that is a 1/2-inch diameter. So why didn't they just make something smaller? I don't know. Really dumb on their part. But I had to get a bunch of adapters to make this work, and I think it's really stupid, but that's just the way it's going to have to be. So anyway, let's see if we can get this thing put together. Here's a comparison of the before and after. You see the brass fitting that's over on the right. That was a smaller air hose that I had, and the diameter of the hoses is much different too. You see the skinnier hose on the right there. Today, using this new hose with the bigger diameter, everything is just, it's beautiful. It doesn't leak, it doesn't hiss, and that drives me crazy when the compressor is just constantly going when you're trying to work. And you have to squeeze the hose against the tool a little bit tighter to make sure that all of the air pressure goes through it, so that way it operates at its optimal performance. That's just a pain in the ass, and I'm really glad that we got these things upgraded today. On my compressor, I have the old fitting, so I can still use my old hose if I have just, let's say, the spray gun, and of course I can plug my air dryer into that just the same. And then over here on the other side, a direct tap into the high pressure side. So that way I can get the maximum volume out of that without going through all the other stuff. Now, I'm not going to need dry air out of that because, of course, this is just for, like, let's say, running a heavy-duty power tool or inflating a tire when it came debeaded, and you get, you know, the maximum amount of air into it as possible. So anyway, I'm really, really happy with this upgrade. It also made the sandblaster work like the dickens today. So with that said, I'm quite pleased with this sucker, and I'm really glad that I did that. It was definitely worth the investment. And I don't know why, I never knew about these before, but I only just discovered that there is actually a larger diameter connection here just recently, like a year or two ago, and I've been wanting to upgrade since, and finally I did it. It made all the difference in the world. Hi, John. All YouTubers are saying hello. That's an awfully weird looking 914.
914 suspension is all in pieces.
I told all our viewers you might show up with it, so I didn't hear a four-cylinder boxer engine. What is it exactly? It's a washer, you say, from the top of a strut or something?
That on a 914.
Okay. It's not a strut then. They don't have struts, do they? Mm-hmm. They do have struts.
Yep,
okay.
It's McPherson.
Okay, I thought there was Torsion bar in the front for some reason.
Well, it's both.
It's both?
Yeah. It's
double whammy. How about
same
that?
Same as the 911 stuff.
So anyway,
I want to make that look like that.
Probably won't be that shiny, but yeah, it'll turn gray.
Closer. And that's Morgan.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Please don't kill yourself stepping over there.
I won't.
You're good. All right, here we go.
I can make it through his garage.
My place is a shithole. All right, what'd you do there, John?
Cleaned it.
You cleaned it? Did you use like your teeth or something? You just kind of chewed on it?
Media blaster.
Put it in the old blast cabinet over there. Been around for several years. It's an old Harbor Freight junker, but it works pretty good. Especially with the new air that I put into it. The volume was great. I mean, you blew that thing down there in seconds. You know what it looks like to me?
What?
You'll recognize it as soon as I say it. Maybe you'll guess.
Are you thinking Star Trek?
No. It looks like
think about where your mind went.
The washer that goes on your front spindle. You see it? You could stamp it right out of that. It's probably even the same size.
Maybe.
I don't have a spindle here in the garage. Otherwise, I'd tell you to slip it over just for grins. But there used to be one over here, but it's not there now. It's probably in the house somewhere. I got a set of spindles I'm working on for that over there, so I can mount the 944 turbo Brembos on there for the front. Everything in the back is pretty much bolt-on, but the front stuff needs machine work. Oh, look at this guy over here trying to back out.
Hopefully he doesn't back into your car.
That is not the way you're supposed to do that.
That was a close
Should have cocked the wheel before he backed
jumper
down.
cables hanging out the back.
I don't know.
Is it so he can quickly jump it off or something?
Maybe he's always jumping someone's bones. But yeah, that's what I'm working on there on that sucker, and we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully we'll have it in the show this year, and I'd like to be able to have it driving. Doesn't mean I'll drive it there, but it'd be nice to be able to drive around the Five Flags. So we'll see what happens with it.
Into the show.
Well, that'd be something else.
Not drive it to the show.
I have to unload it outside the gate.
Yeah.
They had the whole car at the show 1 year ago. The pan actually is from a different car. I had it several years ago and actually painted it several years ago before I even had the oval. It was going to get a 65 on it, but I changed my mind on that and I actually sold the 65. And the pan stayed. So anyway, when the oval came along, I said, well, I need a pan and I want IRS. I had everything for it, so slam dunk. Drop it on there. So yeah, it should be at the show this year. And, you know, it's got the radical roof chop and everything else on it too. Eleanor's her name. Gotta make some more stuff fit. It's all little piddly stuff. It's just little stuff. That's gonna take some time, you know, like bolting in the master cylinder, bleeding the brakes, you know, stupid little things like that. The body needs a little bit of welding, and then of course I gotta run around and do some filler on it and get the thing cleaned up. But it's getting there. It's getting there. What you bringing to the show this year?
Either the camper and or 914.
Does the 914 have a tow bar? So you can actually pull it behind the camper then? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that. I've never seen a tow bar on a 914.
It's a special one that some guy, 914 guy, made for it.
Okay.
Very similar to the Super Beetle tow bar.
Oh, okay. It's got a plate that bolts to the front then. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the tow bar that I use on here is actually for a Beetle or a bus. It has dual purpose, and the guy actually built it that way. And it pulls all buses of all years up to 79, and all Beetles, of course. But it worked out really nice, and I'll do a video on that someday for anybody that's watching that wants to see it. It's a video that I keep cutting little pieces of, and I never really finished it. And you see my beard get longer and longer and longer in it, and then all of a sudden one day I'm shaved. And I still need to finish the video, so you're going to see how gray I turned in the last few years, too. So you're going to come back with food?
Do you need food?
I always need food. Look at me. I'm getting skinny here.
You're wasting away.
I'm withering. It's terrible. At least got beer. You got beer? There's no beer?
I know, right?
Could have at least bring me a cola. I got rum. All right, we're out. Yeah, right. I figured now is as good a time as any here on this left wheel to go ahead and install this 1-inch wheel spacer. This will give me the proper track width on the chassis that I was looking for, and it will actually push that wheel out to the edge of the fender, so that way it looks more full. The lug studs on this are way too short, so in order to put this on, you've got to install some longer lug studs. And I paid through the pretty nose for these things. These are actually real Porsche lug studs, and let's just say they were not cheap. They were not cheap at all. And I had to buy a set for each side and the rear. And I'm probably going to widen up the front some too, so I'll be getting some longer ones from up there also. They said were intended for a Porsche 930, which I believe is a 911. But nonetheless, they fit on the 944 also, but they're a little longer, which is what I needed. And this is a 944 chassis, so they'll fit right in there. Anyway, this is something I've covered before in the video, so I'll do a very, very quick video synopsis from the other video to get you past that part, and then we'll start looking at the brake calipers next. These are the wrong kind of socket for impact, but because the nuts are already loose, the only thing I'm using this for is just to spin the nuts free. There's actually not going to be any torque on them for real. Okay, one wheel comes off. We get this out the way. Kind of close quarters over here. And the disc comes off. Take a lug nut, put it on there. Gives you kind of a valley for the, and I love this, tie rod puller or ball joint puller. There's a forked end on the back, and you want to put the forked end around the back of the stud, so that way when you tighten this down, the stud will be pushed out the back. Otherwise it's counterproductive and it goes nowhere. So in here just like this and tighten. Okay, there they are, all out. Now we want to take the new, very expensive Porsche studs. I don't usually like to share prices, but these were something stupid, like 20 bucks a piece. Really stupid. Okay. Just going to put all of them in place. Obviously they're going to need to be pressed into place. Usually a good idea. Put a little bit of grease on them. Okay, you make sure your stud is in as far as it'll go. Put a space around there like that. And take a junky old lug stud and put that on there. And this is probably, well, this should be one that you don't reuse. This is one that you're going to scrap afterwards when you're done, because we might chew up the threads on it and there may not be a whole lot left of it when we're finished. Alright, once we got that where it needs to be, grab your impact, put her on there, and crank away. That's it. You keep running it until it stops. Once it stops, take your nut back off, move on to the next stud. Now we got that squared away, you can pull out these screws that we left in here earlier. Now I've got a very special rotor for this that I selected that wasn't like the ones that you were seeing, but I wanted something a little prettier and more flashy putting in the car show, because I might go so far as have an exhibition with the wheel off. But I got this nice drilled rotor in really gaudy gold color. Alright, we've got the rotor in place. Gotta put our spacer on there. And now you notice there's just enough lug to get the wheel on there. And nut. Okay, and this is the brake caliper that's going on here. Now, it turns out I have the wrong bolts to this. Thought I had the right one, but the set I have, the thread is all wrong, and the other set that I have is entirely too long. So, unfortunately, I can't put the calipers on today. I'm going to have to order the proper set of bolts for the caliper mounts here. But nonetheless, this is how it's going to look. I'm going to repaint these down the road. I'm not going to do that just yet. I also need to get some of this brake dust off of here, which does not want to come off. I'm going to have to scrape at it. Otherwise, what you're looking at is more or less how it's going to be. I got the bleeder caps on the right side. They should be facing up. Well, what you're looking at here is what the final result should look like once I've got this together. Well, anyways, I'm going to pull off the caliper. I'm going to have a look around just to see if I can find those bolts. I might have another set somewhere. I'm doubting it, but I'm going to poke around anyway. If I find them, we'll get this thing mounted. If we don't, well, then we're not going to get them under today, which isn't such a crying shame. I think everything should fit around this wheel just fine. I don't think we're going to have any clearance issues. These are 16-inch wheels that came off of a Porsche 928, so there should be plenty of clearance to get over the calipers that you see on here, so I'm really not too worried about that. I think this is going to work out just fine. I'm going to dig around a little bit and see if I can find another set of bolts. If I can and get this thing mounted, that would be great. And if I can't, well, I'm really not going to get too upset over it. Well, anyways, that's it, fully raised up. We got what looks to be almost 10 inches of clearance from the ends of the frame horns down to, which was about that much before when it's down at the bottom. So yeah, it's got about a 8-inch travel, and actually it can go a little higher than where it's at right now. It's not actually wound up all the way, so it might go up another inch or so. But when you consider that it's going to be weighed down by an engine and a body, it probably won't come up much higher than what you're looking at. But that worked out pretty good. Today has actually proved to be a better day for setting up and adjusting and cleaning tools rather than working on Volkswagen stuff. But I'm going to try to make a little progress on something. I would like to put in the front master cylinder. And right here we have a brand new front master cylinder. Now this is not some reproduction Varga copy clone garbage. This is actually a real German made one. But I did put on top of it a reservoir. I rather like these because from the trunk area all the way down to the master cylinder, there's a whole bunch of different connections, and they are prone to leaking or just coming apart or rotting out or all that garbage. This doesn't have that issue. This gets to sit all by itself. Now the downside of it, it's a little harder to get to because it's going to be up underneath the gas tank, and the only one of two ways to get to it is to take off your driver's side front tire or to remove your gas tank. And once you've got that sucker out, you can then go ahead and adjust your level of your brake fluid or, check your connections or whatever else you need to do, which to me is not incredibly inconvenient. So that's why I've got the master cylinder reservoir set up the way I do. So let's go ahead and put the sucker in. This gives us a little bit of progress today on something. Now, if you notice up here, there's 3 holes. We got the big one and the 2 little ones. The master cylinder boot will go through the center one, just like that. And then the bolts will go through here. And, that sounds like it's pretty simple, but actually, there are, inside of this little wrapper here, 2 spacers also. And the spacers go inside the Napoleon's hat area, up inside of here. In fact, you know what? One of them is still here. Usually they get lost when these things get disassembled. And I remember when I pulled this car apart, there actually only was, well, I thought there was none, actually. I don't remember there even being one, but there is still actually one still in place. But we're going to clean that up, and we're going to drop the master cylinder in place and get it bolted in, so that way we have some kind of progress on something today. Well, these master cylinders always get all rusty, nasty, shitty, and in a fairly short period of time. So I figured, what the hell, let's go ahead and degrease this thing, clean it down with some dish soap, scrub it real good, dried it off, and then I decided to hit it with a coat of primer, and it'll be hit with a coat of paint next. And, well, maybe it'll stop it from rusting. Here's hoping, anyway. I'm sure it'll look a whole lot better once installed. So anyway, it's not getting installed tonight either. Unfortunately, one less thing installed today, but one more thing off the checklist. Having that coat of paint on there is kind of a big deal to me. So anyway, I'm going to let that primer dry. In fact, I'll let it dry overnight, and then tomorrow we'll hit it with a coat of paint. And I'm thinking I might paint it some kind of noodly color, something a little oddball, something weird. So if I do pull up the gas tank so you can look down in there, that you'll see something out of the ordinary. Anyway, I haven't decided what I want to do yet, but I'll come up with something. Well, I wanted to have a little more done today, but like I said, unfortunately, it just turned out to be a tool preparation and cleanup day. I got a little bit done here. I got the brakes put together on the one side, as you can see. I got the studs pulled out and longer studs installed. I got the master cylinder painted. I helped out John today with getting his part sandblasted. The sandblaster has been upgraded with all new piping, so it now has bigger diameter tubes going to it, and it actually it kicks ass now, where like it used to just hit like a vegetarian, and now it actually has a little bit of force to it, and it cleans his parts up in seconds, as opposed to taking a couple minutes like it used to do. I'm going to push everything back here in the garage. I think that's where I'm going to park it for the time being. I'm actually really exhausted today. I probably shouldn't have even gotten started. The humidity is really killing me. The weather isn't too warm. It was actually nice and breezy, but the humidity is just way up. And the rain just kind of kept going on. It kept missing us. I mean, not like by like a quarter of a mile. I mean, it was raining just to the east and to the south of me, but it would always just miss. And in fact, if I look out to the east right now, it's all pitch black. So it's getting ready to rain again. So anyways, like I said, it's time to bring everything in. So please like, comment, subscribe, pluck that little dingle belly down there next to the subscribe button. Join me on my Facebook page, Duckman Cycles of VW Garage. Search for it, join the group. If you'd like to email me, go ahead and hit me up at duckmancycles@duckshit.net. And thank you very much, you guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around through this project. We'll see you next time.